It was last December, getting ready for Christmas. I turned on the television. There was a documentary called Journey to Christmas. A group of people in Israel, an atheist or a Jewish man, an agnostic, a First Nations person, and a gung-ho believer. And the producer there, putting it all together, was Michael Wright. Michael, congratulations. That was a phenomenal journey that you took many of us on last Christmas. Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, for me, that was my heart. You're combining two things that I love. Israel, going to Israel, discovering Israel.
So I lived there for a whole year.
Lived there for a whole year, so I got to take 5 people on a journey that I love to see, the reactions that they had, looking at all the sites, discovering where Jesus actually walked and what he did. And when people see that kind of environment, it changes them. So I got to witness that firsthand with everybody else.
Well, I know a man who's very skeptical of the faith, all things Christmas, like the virgin birth and so on. And he said, that's the best thing I've ever seen produced by Christians. So,
oh, wow.
Crossroads Christian Communications, the name of this organization. Michael, here we are on 100 Huntley Street, a part of 100 Huntley Street. And they've invited me to be part of this because I'm narrating a number of the documentary specials. And so, Michael, you took on the chore of showcasing Canada's greatest hockey icon.
Definitely.
Paul Henderson. It's called the Goal of the Century. Michael, tell me your reaction when you were first asked to do this.
Well, I felt like a little kid because I remember Paul scoring that goal, and
You weren't old enough. How old were you when he scored that goal in 1972?
I was in grade 3.
Grade 3?
Grade 3.
Okay.
They rolled out the TVs like so many other people when they were that age, and we all got to see it. And I wanted to ask you, where were you in 1972?
I was in a convention in Toronto with a group of very dignified clergymen, ministers. And guess what happened? They adjourned the session, and they went back into a back room, like a gymnasium type room, where they had a couple of TVs set up, and all of us sat there, stood there. When the goal went in, we were all standing and jumping around like a group of crazy whatever. And every Canadian that has any heart at all for the country,
definitely,
who's 45 or over, has got to remember the goal. The goal.
Definitely. So when I was given that chore, I consider it an honor because I looked at him when I was growing up as a hero of mine. And once I got to know his story later and seeing the past interviews that he's been on Huntley Street, I just knew this was going to be a great story to tell. The hardest part, though, I felt was the story's been told. The goal has been chronicled many times. So how do I make it different? How do I really get to the heart of the goal and the man, Paul Henderson? So that was the challenge.
Well, you know, the Russian coach, the coach of the Russian team in that Canada-Russian hockey series, said the difference was Canadians had more heart. Well, Paul, exemplifies that if anybody does. Well, you've chosen a clip for us to see.
Yeah, it's the iconic clip for me. It's Where Were You in '72? So what we did was we interviewed numerous Canadians, some famous, some not so famous, about where they were in 1972 when he scored.
The former Prime Minister, I think, is in the clip, maybe John Diefenbaker. He was in the special. He jumped to his feet.
Yes.
His reaction. He jumped to his feet, so watch for him.
I was in Rochester, New York. I was general manager and coach of the team.
I was at St. Thomas More School in grade 8 in Mississauga.
I was living in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
So I was standing in a corner store somewhere south of Aurelia.
I was in my grade 10 business class, and my teacher said, I'm never going to do this again, and I've never done it before, but I'm going to wheel in the TV and we're going to watch hockey.
They rolled in those TVs on the stands, and they put about 6 or 7 TVs all throughout the auditorium.
You're on the ice, and with about 10 minutes to go in the game, our trainer come out, they're tied, get out here, get out here.
It's Canada's frozen moment. 34 seconds left, puck goes in.
Here's another shot, right in front, they score! Henderson has scored for Canada!
When Paul scored, I exploded up in the air. I ripped the arm off the chair.
Well, there was just a huge cheer, and I remember the teachers were We're congratulating each other.
People remember where they were standing, who they were with, what they were wearing.
When Paul scored, it was funny to see a hockey team in a dressing room, in the States, jumping around, kissing one another. We were so happy. It was amazing, and I'll never forget it.
It was a wonderful hockey moment that's etched into my memory forever.
Oh, I love that moment, Michael, of Deef the Chief jumping up to his feet. I know what it felt like. Wow. Yeah, Michael, this was a great thing you did. Now, Paul has a story. Beyond that, Paul has now been diagnosed with an incurable disease, terminal, according to the doctors. He's taking treatment. Heard him speak at a breakfast here in Burlington the other day, and he was looking really well. He did so well. Yeah. Michael, do you have anything else for us to show from the doc?
Yeah, actually, you referred to his cancer journey.
Yes.
The next clip kind of sets that up when he found out when he was diagnosed. So let's take a look.
Yeah.
They did an ultrasound on my stomach, and just to make sure everything was fine, and found some growths. And so found out in November, I have 2009, I have lymphocytic lymphoma, chronic leukemia. And so, man, it was like getting punched in the stomach. That, you know, cancer? How can I possibly have cancer?
I was totally taken off guard by him having cancer. But when I was really stunned is when, I guess it was about our second visit with the oncologist, and he said, well, you know, it's at stage 4. It means multiple places. It's not like stage 4 of another tumor type of cancer that is very advanced.
Through this difficult time, both Eleanor and Paul are leaning heavily on their faith in God.
I know that God didn't give me cancer, but I know He's very aware that I have cancer. And I said, okay, Lord, if this is my lot, then I need your help. And I unashamedly pray for help every morning. But I have no fear of dying whatsoever. I know where I'm going. And man, I've lived 69 years. I'm 69. My dad died at 49, so I have no complaints about anything.
You know, his greatest challenge was not the Russian national team. His greatest challenge is what he's facing right now. And well, I have already distributed quite a number of copies of this doc to people, hockey fans. You know, you get a hockey fan, you start talking about Paul Henderson, and the door is wide, because I want people to hear Paul's conclusions about life and meaning and all of those very special challenges.
And he's not ashamed of his faith, David.
Yeah, right.
I saw him in public when they were displaying his jersey, and thousands of fans came out. This was just before the 40th
One that
anniversary.
sold for about $800,000.
1.2 million.
1.2
Set a world
million.
record.
Ay, ay, ay. And he had given it away to a trainer after
right.
the game
That's
in Russia.
Right. And he said, pray for me in public. He said, if you believe in prayer, pray for me. So that was the one thing that really impressed me, was he is a consistent man who lived the faith day in, day out, and it wasn't in the least bit shy about asking for prayer.
You know, I am so sold on this, that you really need to get, yes, Canada Heart and Soul box, the box of the documentaries. This one, and you'll find somebody that you know, maybe you yourself, you fit right in to at least one or two of those categories of documentaries. They are life revolutionizing. I mean, the big challenge of our day, you know, is not whether you got money or you don't have money or whatever, or even health or you don't have health. It's meaning versus meaninglessness. It's purpose versus purposelessness. And this is something that I really encourage you to get. Thank you, Michael. Congratulations again on a marvelous production.
Appreciate that. Thank you, David.